So just a bit of a recap of my last Sports Geek trip. As you might have followed it on Twitter via the hashtag. So to get started, to give you a bit of a breakdown of one, what Sports Geek trips are and what they're designed to do, and also the itinerary. So yes, I always fill out my occupation as Sports Geek, and it always gets a laugh or at least a quizzical look from the guys at Customs. So it's always about personal branding and getting the name out there. So this is the fourth time I've done Sports Geek trip. I try to do one every year. It sort of worked out well that it's coincided with SEAT the last couple of years, the SEAT conference. But this year I actually do two because I'm going back in August for SEAT conference in Kansas City. So if you don't know the story, my first one was in 2010, and I went to LA, Dallas, and New York. And it was sort of part secret shopper, part networking, and also just seeing what the US market does from a game day activation. Because I think if we're going to take any lessons from what the US market does, and you can always be looking at what they do from a digital point of view. I think they really do game day activations and really make that connection with the fan in the stadium. So for this trip, my primary reason for going over was social media marketing world, and I'll cover a little bit of that in this presentation today. But then, being Sports Geek, I wouldn't be living up to my name if I didn't also try to catch up with some tech companies and catch up with a few sports teams and catch a few games. So I spent a couple of days in San Francisco. I landed in San Francisco, spent 3 days in San Francisco, a short 2 days in Portland. Who just joined us?
It's Jordan. Hey, Sean. How you going?
Hey, Jordan. How you doing?
Good.
2 days in Portland, and then 4 days for the conference in San Diego, and then my last day I spent a day in LA before heading home. Well and truly ready to come home after sort of going up and down the West Coast. So I'm pretty much just going to go through each sort of meeting, people that I caught up with, and sort of some of the findings from those meetings. So you guys all know that I'm good mates now with Mike Brown in helping out with Twitter Brekkie and sort of helping them develop in the sports market in Australia. So I had a good touch base with him about how they're going as far as setting up an office in Australia and also developing their offerings in Australia. So it's still developing. They still haven't appointed a market director. They hope to do so soon. But they've now definitely realised that as much as sport is a really great way to connect with the fan base, TV is really the big driver in Australian media. Like everything has to go through TV, and currently the reticence of the TV market, using apps like Fango and Jump In and ZBox, which I'm not a fan of. They go against what Twitter wants to do. So they've got some work to sort of get inroads in the TV market. Actually, when I was there, I turned up and there was a whole bunch of my geek brethren waiting out the front because they had a announcement. They brought in the developers around Twitter cards integration, and some extra stuff around people who are developing apps. So now they're offering. And so when I say Twitter cards, and it's very hard to get nodding of heads in this type of format, but everyone knows what Twitter cards are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so pretty much now in the Twitter client, they're trying to make the Twitter client far more rich. Try to wean people off apps like Tweetbot. They've actually killed off TweetDeck from a mobile point of view. But now you're getting, rather than just getting a link, you're getting rich pictures, some preamble, some text from the story. So it becomes a richer experience. They're now offering up that deep linking with the Twitter cards to be able to deep link inside to apps. So where that might help from a sports point of view, and I know a lot of you've got mobile apps that are not in your control. Is that someone else just join us? Hey, Brian, how you doing? Yeah, so what they're going to allow now is deep linking into apps for their developers. So potentially, if you were to put a video highlight up in your mobile app, you could embed that into a Twitter stream. So they would click the link, and rather than going to a mobile site or whatever, it would actually dive straight into the mobile app. So, they think it's a real way for them to, I guess, develop stronger ties with other apps, as also as a way to, promote more app installs. From a promoted tweets and advertising point of view, unfortunately, they're still not ready for an Australian sort of launch. But it was interesting to hear and talk to a few of the teams that are using promoted tweets around their sports teams, tickets, promotions, that kind of stuff. The A's, for instance, used it to push out a few promoted tweets before the game I went to, and it just got them over the 100,000 Twitter follower numbers. If you haven't checked out the Twitter Music app and you're so inclined, they were in the final processes of getting that ready when I was over there. It's actually been developed by the guys at We Are Hunted, which is formerly they were a Melbourne startup as a social music discovery service. Twitter acquired them, and it's effectively become that music app. It's a completely new app together. G'day, Craig. So it's a completely new app, and so if you're musically inclined, check it out. It's only on the iPhone, but yeah, it's definitely a way. I think potentially that's a way that Twitter might effectively mimic EdgeRank. So rather than edge ranking like Facebook does, they'll provide these apps that are suited to that vertical. So I see the music app, and I definitely see that they could build a sports version of that. And effectively, bubble up sports scores and athletes and those kind of things. So the other stuff, Jono Simpson's, I missed him by a day. He was over in San Francisco a couple of days before me. He's formerly from the AFL, and now he's their sports partnerships manager in Australia. So if you don't know Jono and you want an introduction, I'm happy to do so and pass on some details. So that was pretty much catching up with Twitter. So that was pretty much just as I got off the plane. And then I also met up with Tim Sekou from Tint. So a few teams have now got some Tint social media boards, effectively, that curates all their social content. So the good thing about Tint, it provides a really good way to highlight all your different social content: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Tumblr, YouTube, just in a one easy-use format. I pretty much spent my time there talking to Tim about, how can we use it further? A lot of people have, and I don't know if Dave and Craigie knew that you're actually profiled in the client gallery on the Tint page.
I see that.
Yeah, so some of the teams, most of the teams who have now installed it use it as a bit of a social media hub. And it's quite, I did ask him, I said, what's the go with the price? It's ridiculously cheap. And he said, yes, it is, but they really want it to be accessible for everybody. What they are doing is trying to develop more solutions for, for different markets. So what we talked to him about is, what we've offered to the clubs currently, which is, hey, here's a easy does it social media hub. You can put it on your site. There's all your content. Now, we can't really, that's great for a first user impression. If you haven't understood what social media is, it's a great way to consume the content, but it's not really going to drive people further back. So what we did discuss with Tim, or what I discussed with Tim, was different ways and different use cases that sports can use it. I did talk to him about the issue of moderation, because with Tint you can say, put your team hashtag on there and it will put up fan tweets. And I said, that's a great idea, except from a club point of view and a brand protection point of view, you can't just put any tweet up, because we all know, fans are smartasses, or worse, players are smartasses, and you'll end up with an inappropriate tweet up on your board. So they're moving to an ability to pre-publish, pre-moderate before publishing, because at the moment their only thing is, no, take that tweet down, take that tweet down. They're changing that mechanism, so you effectively could go in and have a fan competition, for instance, using a hashtag, and say, send in your tweets or send in your Instagrams, and you can moderate which ones appear on the board. So it gives you some opportunities for, sponsor integrations, any campaigns around that sponsors are trying to do where you're using social content. And then we're also talking to him about doing live social media boards and scoreboard integration. So, I know a few of you have tried to get the scoreboard integration. It ends up being someone copying and pasting and sending it to the guys who run the scoreboards. They're working with some teams at the moment to get that scoreboard integration pretty seamlessly, where you just pick the tweets and they're going to appear. So we've got a couple of different versions on our site. We've got like the social media hub style. But if you look at the Sports Geek HQ .com homepage and the slide down there in the bottom, he's actually got now a slideshow live animated ticker of tweets and content. So at every 5 seconds, it'll put up another piece of social content that will drive people back to that page, but just gives you a way to, profile your social content. So there's different ways that you can use Tint. And we're really happy to be working with Tint on it. And they're really willing to take on board any feedback or any different ways that sports want to use it. So if you want to look at it a little bit further, happy to talk about it, outside this session. Also caught up with Tram at Pinterest. So she manages partners at Pinterest, and currently it's a pretty small team, both Pinterest overall and her team is exceptionally small, being just her. So at the moment, they're really focused on fashion and TV. At the moment, they're not even sure where sports fits. So just from my discussions... All right, someone's got someone talking in the background. I'm going to mute them, but I don't know who it is. No, they're all back. I can mute you all if I have to, but I don't want to. So they're not even sure where sports fits. I took them through some of the examples that you guys have done. Also, some of the guys in the States, Boston Celtics, Portland Trailblazers have done a lot of stuff in Pinterest. So what we're going to try to do is sort of develop a bit of a partnership with the guys at Pinterest to see if we can come up with some good case studies for them. They're keen to dispel this notion of female social network. So the discussion was, I think we were using the Portland Trailblazers as an example. Why do the Portland Trailblazers have a board for Trailblazers, and why do they have a board for pets? And I'm like, well, because when you open up Pinterest, it's nothing but tea cozies, motivational slides for women to get fit, and brides dresses. So, they're keen to dispel the notion that it's a female social network, but at the moment they don't have the stats to disprove it, and it's only what we've got. So, the analytics platform is developing. So if you haven't haven't converted your account to a business account, I suggest you do so. You just go to business.pinterest.com and say, yes, this is a business account. And all you have to do is put a bit of meta tag action and chuck it on your website. I know that is sometimes difficult for some teams, given your CMSs and the support that you sometimes get or don't get from the CMS operators. Try not to disparage anybody here. If you are having difficulties doing that, let me know, because we can get you verified without it. So what it gets you is a little tick next to your website name, but then it also gets you the analytics for both your pins and the content that gets pinned by your fans. And so Alex and Brian, the guys at FFA, can attest, just putting the Pinterest button integrated into their site has seen a stack of content be pinned by their fans. And yes, some of those fans are female fans, but it's great to see their content pinned. So they're looking for some case studies in the sports space. And so what I'm going to help them do is try to develop a few teams that are doing Pinterest well, potentially get you higher up in the profile of recommended boards and those kind of things. to potentially see if we can get some wins with it. So it's a bit of a watch this space sort of area. But the thing is, they're still driving a stack of traffic from a referral point of view. So I do think that there is a definite market there for sports, even if it is only to connect with the female sports fan. But that said, I think if there's enough guy content, if I want to put it that way, there might be interest in more guys using Pinterest. I did have a good discussion with Dan Harbison at the Trailblazers, who I tend to agree with, who thinks that Pinterest is a female social network because it's more in their nature to pin and scrapbook and collect, whereas guys are a little bit, I'm going to tell you stuff, I don't care where it goes, megaphone style, and it's just not in our behaviour to pin. I don't know what that says about me, considering I pin a lot, but it was an interesting observation. I can definitely see a point there. So after Pinterest, he goes to the next slide. After Pinterest, I caught up with the guys at the Golden State Warriors. That shot there in the top right is their practice courts. So the Coach Jackson's office overlooks that, and so do the team offices. They're in Oakland. And so I was talking to Kevin Cote, who's the director of digital marketing, and the other Kevin Akers, who's the director of IT. So I know Kevin Akers from Seek Conference. He's been to the last couple of Seek conferences I have. And Kevin has taken over the digital marketing role from, now I can't remember his name. Kyle, can't remember his name. Kyle, who, if you went to the MCG digital marketing conference back in 2010, Sports Digital Summit, or Digital Sports Summit, Kyle was speaking at, and he was actually in Kevin's role at the time. So I had a chat to Kevin Cote about, what their digital team looks like. And I said, how is it resourced? They've got pretty much a team, if you really want to put it strictly on digital, of 5. He didn't really define them with specific roles other than that everyone's multi-skilled and everyone pitches in across all things, whether it be social, graphics, video, those kind of things. But it definitely has grown over the last 3 or 4 years. When I was there, they were in the process of, they were 3 games away from clinching a playoff spot. Now, the Warriors haven't been in the playoffs for 17 years, so it's a bit of a big deal. They're on the stroke. I think they had a 27-game sellout streak going into that game. So it talked a little bit about how they were planning for the playoffs. So they had a few campaigns up their sleeve, and clinching was a big moment for their franchise. So they had those campaigns sort of on the go. And I also asked them about sponsorship around the playoffs and how they activate the playoffs. And the main thing was that they had all their sponsorship agreements had clauses in them to extend the sponsor into the playoffs should they make the playoffs, and also obviously then would give them some funds to actually do some activations. So I thought that was interesting and common sense to make sure, even if they haven't been in the playoffs for 17 years, that they did have some sponsor backing for promotions that they wanted to do in the playoffs. If you look there in the bottom right, they actually use Facebook check-ins, and they have been for a while. They're one of the first teams to use Facebook check-ins. They've actually got a Facebook place set up called Golden State Warriors Home Game. So it's not their standard page, but it's just a page that they ask people to check in. So it's got the location details of Oracle Arena where they play, and they're constantly using that desk for any giveaways. So rather than saying the first 500 people who turn up to Oracle Arena will get a David Lee bobblehead, they say go in, check into the Golden State Golden State Warriors home game, and show the guys in the check-in desk, and then they hand over the gift. So, they've had over 200,000 people check in to home games. which is a great way for to promote the people who are turning up to the games. And it's a bit of a it's not the standard use case that I think Facebook would have used, and it's not something that I would have used because you would normally be promoting your venue. But it's another way for them to maintain and connect with their fans and effectively get their fans to promote that they're at the game. They've sort of said in the last 18 months there's been a bit of a change of management, a bit of a change of focus. They previously had a really strong ticketing focus. Sell tickets, sell tickets, sell tickets. And over the last 18 months, they've sort of pulled that back and really focused on engaging the fans and really connecting with the fans. And they've seen obviously a big uplift in all their engagement stats and I guess happiness of the fans and the feedback from the fans. They're loving what they're doing. Kevin also showed me the fact that they've got some pretty good Wi-Fi in the stadium. It's an old stadium, but they've been able to refit the Wi-Fi into the current stadium, primarily just because the height of the stadium roof isn't too tall. So what they've been able to do, and you can't see it here, but there's around that scoreboard on the roof, they've been able to put Wi-Fi extenders that reach about 74 feet, and I think it's like 72 feet to the floor. So they've been able to put these Wi-Fi extenders in the roof to effectively make sure everyone gets really good Wi-Fi. And so that has enabled them to put tweets up on the big screen during the game, Instagram shots up during the game. Without that, it sort of limits the amount of things that they can do. It's so much easier to check into the game. They've got their mobile app. You can upgrade your seat during the game using Pogo Seat. So it gives them a lot more options that other teams don't have. Now I'm just trying to track back. So that was Wednesday. So Thursday morning, I caught up with Cheyenne, who's the founder of a product called Listly. So I used Listly a while ago to create a list of, I think it was around for Twitter's birthday, and sort of used it to say, here's 7 stories that I think would have been cool if Twitter had been around for. And so what Listly allows you to do is to create these lists of content and allows you to get into the fan curation sort of space. So letting the fans both vote on the list, reorder the list, and add to the list via, with some moderation. So I had a chat to him, caught up with him in San Francisco around, again, how potentially sports could use it. So the way I see it potentially working, a few of you are already using Spotify as a way to create a story around your game and present all the social aspects of the game. I think there could be a tendency that Storify might have a limited life as Twitter tries to move more into, we want you to use our embed tweets rather than refactoring them in another manner. But Listly, for instance, you could put up a list of your top plays of the week and put in YouTube clips. They're able to be played in line, embedded in that list. But the thing is, the fans can then share that list or add to that list or those kind of things. So, the premium features which I think sports need, especially if you're going to get in the fan content, is moderation. So, if, for instance, you could say, I want to create a list of my team moments of this year, and just start getting those fans, getting the fans to enter. And obviously, you're going to get a peanut every now and again. You want to be able to say, no, that entry is not valid. So you can lock the lists. You can allow commenting on some lists. So yeah, I'm going to work with Cheyenne about how we can make it viable for sports. Again, he's in startup mode. He's looking to reach new markets. Very flexible about how to go about monetizing your lists. So, for instance, you could create a top 5, players from the 80s or something along those lines, and we were talking about potentially inserting ads in the list that you can serve. So those kind of things. But I think it could be quite a useful and easy content piece, either for recapping a game, recapping the news of the week, those kind of things. So if you haven't checked out Listly, please do, and I'm happy to sort of step you through some of the different ways it can be used. At the moment, it's a person-based, network. I did talk to him about making, brand-style accounts, and effectively you can mimic that in the same way that we've mimicked brand accounts with Pinterest for a little while now until they've actually launched them. So they're looking at brand-based accounts that have, multiple people that can edit them and moderate them and those kind of things. But yeah, I think there is potential as far as creating these lists that can be, used and sorted and those kind of things. And those lists can be as epic as you like. So you can list every single player on your roster, every single player that's ever played, or whatever, and then hand it over to the fans and let them, crowdsource, vote up, vote down type of things. Then Thursday afternoon, thankfully the weather cleared up, and I was able to go out to Oakland A's to oo.com Coliseum, or as people might know it as Oakland Coliseum. And it was interesting. I don't know how much you guys know about the difference in the Major League Baseball and the NBA. Major League Baseball, a lot of the digital is driven by Major League Baseball Advanced Media, or MLBAM. And so they do maintain a lot of control over what the teams produce. So to give you an idea, and a lot of you guys run Facebook pages, Twitter accounts. I think the latest number is MLBAM does 70% of Facebook posts for all Major League Baseball teams. So just think about that for a minute. Imagine if 70% of all your Facebook posts just got taken off you. I mean, yes, you go, great, the workload has gone a little bit, but the flexibility and the ability to run your own things, it can be a little bit restrictive. So I caught up with Travis LaDolce, who's the Senior Manager of Digital Marketing, effectively in the same role as similar role to Brian Sarabian at the San Francisco Giants, and also caught up with Josh Feinberg, who's the Group Sales Manager at the A's. So it was a Thursday game. I mean, the crowd you can sort of see there wasn't terribly big. It's a far bigger stadium than they need at the moment. You can see there the top deck is primarily covered with tarps. But yeah, great atmosphere. It's an older stadium, so comparing, it's only 100 meters across the road to Oracle Arena. They don't have the Wi-Fi capability, and they're probably holding off putting it in because, like most teams in the US, they're looking for a new stadium, so they don't see the benefit in putting in a $2 million Wi-Fi upgrade if they're going to be moving in a couple of years. So some of the main focus for the A's, again, given that they've only got a little bit of leeway, is they've got a pretty young roster that's starting to embrace social. So they're trying to keep that along and make that connection with their fan base. And pretty much it is the same with all with so many tickets in the Major League Baseball season, 62 if I get it right. Games for the total season. A lot of their promotions are about getting more people turning up to the game. So just again, some of the shots there. That one on the top left shows off all the different types of ticketing options that you've got. And the one on the bottom right was actually quite good. It actually showed you where all the different types of beer you could get from the stadium. So there was actually a fair bit on offer, and you could have done a pub crawl effectively in the stadium if you're so inclined. So it was good to catch a game. The Giants weren't in town; they were playing the Dodgers in an interleague series opener. So I wasn't able to catch the Giants, but it was lucky enough to go across the bay and catch up with the A's. Then Friday morning, I flew up to Portland. and I caught up with the guys at Chirpify. So Chirpify, and I know I've told a couple of you guys about this. It's a product that allows you to sell in social stream. So it's not the same as putting up a Facebook offer and saying, "Hey guys, here's a cap. Go to our store." Sorry, can you hear me? All right.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, so it's not the same as, putting up an offer for your store and sending people to your store. What it means by selling social in the social stream is that the fans can simply reply to that content to buy that, whatever that offer is. So the way it works is the fan has to set up a Chirpify account. So that's the initial barrier. I did discuss with them about that. So they set up a Chirpify account. They connect PayPal to it. They might even say what your T-shirt size. Did someone just leave or someone just come? Sorry, and I just heard a beep. I don't know if that's someone arriving or I'll keep going. Yeah, so effectively you connect your PayPal. You say I'm a size large T-shirt and I'm 10.5 in a shoe. And then whenever you see one of these offers, like Adidas did with the Messi collection or the Trailblazers did with a promotion, you just simply reply with buy. They go and deduct your PayPal account, and then they send Adidas, here you go, Sean Cullinan, who lives in Richmond and wants a Messi collection, please mail it to him. So, once you've got your fans into Chirpify, it's quite easy for them to buy something. So, from a cost point of view, they work on a clip of the ticket on everything that they've sold. They've had some really good success with the music industry. They've done some initial tests with the guys at the Trailblazers. At the moment, they're only supporting US dollars, but in the end, it doesn't really, we'd have to work out a way to get it to work here. And so I did talk to them about potentially, supporting different currencies. But I do think it's something that, especially your shops potentially could be interested in. And then potentially, if you did have access to some of your player accounts, that they could, tweet or Instagram something and buy. So, very interesting concept. I did talk to them about does it annoy Facebook? Did Facebook get annoyed that people are replying in stream? And they said that Facebook are really delighted with what they've done. They're the only people that are actually, working quite well in this, I guess, F-commerce space is probably what it's best be called. So I'm going to be working with them to try to help them get a few more clients across the line and also build some case studies. But yeah, if you want to give it a go because there's a couple of things that they get you. One, sales. You can sell tickets, merchandise, whatever it is. And then the other one is you get the data of, all the people that buy, you get all their social details, their emails and that kind of thing. So, there's two things at play there. They're getting, being able to suck your data out of Facebook, get the emails out of Facebook by using Chirpify. But then also actually getting a bit of revenue, which we all would like as a bit of a social media return of investment. The last one, I also met up with Dave Jolene in Portland. So I know Dave from C Conference, and he's also got a product that has been used by a couple of teams, including the Blazers, called Ticketnet Sports. And it's a social promotional tool for ticket sales. So the best way I can describe it is people will register for a competition, and it's a ability to run a campaign / competition / promotion. People will register, and they might register to go in the prize to win a cool prize, whether it be season tickets next year or an upgraded experience, whatever it is. But rather, where it differentiates from a standard sweepstakes type app is it then asks their friends to join in and refer their friends. Now, normally in a normal sweepstakes, there's no incentive for doing that, because all you do, if more people enter, it lessens your chance of winning. Whereas the way Ticketnet works is the more people you refer, the more points you get, and it actually increases your chance. So you effectively go up the referral ladder. So rather than just being, I've got to, spam my friends or tell my friends to use my code when they're signing up to be a member. What this does is, you post on Facebook, say, hey, here's a killer deal. So the Trailblazers, for instance, used it for preseason tickets. They said, hey, here's a killer deal. Go to this link and register, and you'll get a special code to get in a special ticketing deal. And they sold an absolute bucket load of tickets, and the fans that promoted them best got into the prize. So it's two ways. You're getting sales lead from your ticketing point of view. You're getting the data, as far as fans register, but then you're also getting sales. And so the Trailblazers one was still getting sales, even though they sent them to Ticketmaster with a code, and they had to register again. So Dave's working on ways to potentially try to sell that inventory directly out of Ticketnet. But we all know how open Ticketnet and Ticketmaster are with their APIs. So it's a bit in the too hard basket at the moment. But they've done a really good job. They've sold an absolute bucket load of tickets. They've just been running one with the Clippers. The Clippers had some excess inventory near the end of the season. They ran some Ticketnet promotions to make sure that inventory got sold. They had a prize of season tickets for next year, but they sold all that inventory. Columbus Blue Jackets in the NHL are also some of their clients. So I'm working with Dave to help them refit. They're on version 5 of the product now, and so I'm offering him some advice on how to go about changing a little bit and what other things from a social activation can happen. But I definitely think if you want to sell tickets or fill a new stadium or get more data from prospective fans, it's a pretty cool product. And so I'm happy to set up just let me know, and I'm happy to set up some demos with Dave over the next couple of weeks. So after catching up with those two guys, I finally caught up with Dan Harbison and Dustin at the Portland Trailblazers. If you've been following the Trailblazers on anything from a digital point of view, you'll see in the last 18 months they've really bet big on TV. So they've got Trailblazers TV. You'll see there they've got Casey. I think it's Casey if I get his name wrong. Apologies, Casey, if I've got your name wrong. I wouldn't call you Casey if I've got it wrong, but anyway. He's there doing the daily. So they do a daily 1 hour web show at lunchtime every day. Both live to air, and then it's recorded. Then obviously it's available for viewing afterwards. So I sat in on that session. If you want some more of the details of the products they were using, I can get the full details from Dan. But I do remember the live broadcast product was called Wirecast, which is pretty reasonable. I think it's about $500 as a software tool. And so effectively you can plug in all the different cameras, extra inputs. And so for this case, they were interviewing their TV analyst, Mike Rice, via Skype in a two-screen, split-screens type scenario. And then they were also able to embed ads. I think the program was sponsored by Burgerville. They ran ads and promotions during the show. So it looked like a Wirecast effectively gives you a TV truck inside your Mac. So they do that 5 days a week. They also do a pre-game show before the TV network kicks in, sort of live from the stadium, inside the stadium. Some other things that they did, they had a bloggers row where they effectively had a little bit of a press table for the key and influential bloggers who regularly write about the Trailblazers, which is just a way to, I guess, give a little back to the key influencers and the fact that they're talking about their brand. I don't think blogging, I guess, single team blogging has got to the level yet with in Australia, but there is that in the US. Each team has two or three guys who are doing a blog. They also made a big deal about Rip City Guardians, which is effectively their season ticket holders. So they're really focused on honouring their season ticket holders. They had effectively a whole booth or a whole section of their stadium that was sort of honouring their season ticket holders. You can go and speak to someone if you had a problem. There was always someone there servicing the members. They had this digital wall which was highlighting the fans that have been signed up for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, that kind of thing. So again, they're really they've got a digital site that they've been using now for, I think it's for 3 years. That's effectively their membership servicing site for all the fans. Other than that, the game presentation was really cool. You can see there on the top left the blow-up Ford car that actually, looked like Marty McFly's DeLorean, but it was a Ford because that was the sponsor that was dropping prizes to fans. And then what they also did, which was pretty cool, they must do it each game, was at the start of the game, they got the fans to deliver the match ball. So I don't know if you can actually pick it up in this video, but you can sort of see the fans are handing the match ball one by one down the stands. They've actually got the cheer squad, the cheerleaders there, making sure no one nicks the ball. But it's a nice little 30, 40 sec music and getting the fans involved. And say, hey, I touched the match ball. Occasionally, there's a hero who wants to jump up and down, and so they've got it. But it worked pretty well as far as just sort of getting the crowd fired up before the game started. So that was pretty much the Trailblazers. So after Portland, and we'll keep an eye on the clock. After Portland, I went to San Diego. I won't go through everything from the conference. If you want some of the content from the conference, let me know, and I can get you some of that content. So if you didn't know, Social Media Marketing World was run by the guys at Social Media Examiner. Mike Stelzner is the guy behind Social Media Examiner. So these takeaways and quotes are actually from a Meltwater infographic. And, those 11 takeaways were actually pretty much on the money. Be helpful, not salesy, which was the case for most of the speakers. There was a few guys that got up on the stage and just tried to flog their book. Be human. People like companies. People like people, not companies. And that's really important to be able to, one, connect with your fans and give them a voice. Don't be boring, which was pretty much from Sally Hogshead, which was about you don't learn how to be fascinating, you unlearn how to be boring, was her thing. Reuse of content, reduce effort, reinforce the message. So that was a piece from Jason Miller, looking at how many ways you can slice and dice your content. And so we pretty much saw content as a turkey, and the way that post-Thanksgiving you can make turkey sandwiches, you make turkey stew, all that kind of thing. It was about how you can take your content on one platform, reformat it, tweak a little, and use it on another platform. And I think there's that stuff that a lot of you guys are already doing. Number 5, just do it. Plan, test, iterate, repeat. Again, to sort of get past that, don't do it yet. Podcasting, I'll go into that in a little bit with Pat Flynn's presentation. That was one of the hottest trends of the conference, if it had one. The 4-1-1 rule is, again, a few of the guys push that. And if I remember it correctly, it's promote 4 other pieces of retweet other people's content, promote other people, and then promote yourself is pretty much the thing. So you have a better balance of so it's not just all you. And so part of that from a sports point of view is making sure that you're giving your fans a voice as much as anything else. Number 10, again, was something from Jay's: market your content. So don't just think that you're running a campaign, it's all going to work. You've still got to market it. And and developing integrated campaigns, which I think is the only way to go. This, in 2013, it has to be across the board. It can't be a single platform campaign. So Jay Baer was one of the first talks that I went to on the Tuesday or Monday. Again, getting my days mixed up. Jay is Jay Baer on Twitter. He's got a book coming out called Utility. He was one of the better speakers, or one of the best speakers I saw. And so pretty much the basis of utility is making your marketing so useful people will pay for it. So being a utility for your fans and for your customers. And some of the premises or some of the key points from his presentation is that we're in this social media space, and you're not you're competing against family and friends. Very much so on Facebook. It's a personal platform. You've got to work out a way to be in that conversation and be valid in that conversation. And so his real goal is to be utility, to be the resource, to be the place that fans, customers want to come to. So I think to a certain degree, sports are already doing that naturally, but it's also you've just got to remember that there's an opportunity there, but you've got to be making sure that you're understanding you're in a personal platform, and it's actually better if you get your fans to be promoting your content. So, and it made a good point that content is the fire. Content is still the thing that you need to have to begin with. You can't just be doing it all alone with social media. You've got to have killer content. Again, sports has killer content, but how much more killer content can you go with? Market your marketing, which is, again, if you're going to run a campaign, don't just expect the campaign to run itself, to be, oh, cool, I've done all the work, it's going to go out. You still have to go then and market that campaign, whether that be with further posts, whether it be with some ads, whether it be with some promotions on site or in the stadium. That's where I see a lot of sports marketing digital campaigns fall over. People just thinking, cool, we've run it, we've set it up, and it'll go. You really need to do, you are competing for attention, so you still have to market it and continue to do so. So as an example, he gave a couple of really good examples of utility, but my favorite and the most comical one was this app called Run P. I don't know if you've ever downloaded the app, but the app, effectively, someone has gone and they go and watch a movie and they document the times that are the most valid for you to go to the toilet, leave the cinema, go pee, and then come back. So, for instance, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, there's like 45 minutes in that movie where you can go and go to the toilet and not worry about it. And then when you come back, the app will catch you up on what happened. So again, it's an example of a utility app. I'm not, but that's, I guess, if you're looking in the mobile space for sports, it's how can you make your mobile app more of utility, not just a news service, whether it's telling people how to find a car park, how to get to the game, why isn't there an app that tells me where the shortest beer line is at my stadium? That is an app I will check. Those kind of things. So that was pretty much, I know I'm going to definitely buy utility. Jay was a really good guy. Unfortunately, the Rabbitohs aren't here. He's a Rabbitohs fan. So I'll hopefully get him to a game next time he's in Sydney. The other, I guess, if I'd given a silver medal out at the social media marketing worlds, it would go to Pat Flynn. I only found out really about Pat Flynn. I heard about him a little bit, but only just briefly before going. Pat Flynn runs a website called Smart Passive Income. He's got a podcast where he pretty much talks about business development and how people are building their business and how people are, developing their business. And he's got a very successful podcast. When Michael Stelzner was talking about podcasting is hot earlier in the conference, Pat Flynn was right up there next to CNN and Harvard Business Review and those kind of things because he's done so well in the podcasting space. So he had some really good content around how to make your podcast discoverable, how to make people stick around, and how to make people to share it. And he did have some stuff around, calls to action and get people to buy. But I did think it had some really good stuff around, making sure people can find your podcasts, making people they're sharing and engaging with it, and making sure you're up on the rankings. So if you've got a podcast or you're thinking about doing a podcast for your team, I'm happy to take you through some of the stuff that Pat went through around how to make sure that it's you're ticking all the boxes from a podcasting point of view. I'm mindful of the time, so I'm not going to go too quickly, but I've only got 2 more slides left. So the other one I wanted to really touch on was Brian Carter's presentation, which was really rich in content, but he didn't really dive in enough for mine. He skimmed over it. But these 4 slides for mine were really good around the social advertising space. So we really dug into Facebook ads and remarketing and using Facebook Exchange and things like that. So he talked about being from a social ad point of view, being where it matters. So finding out where your fans are going to be or the ones you want to target, and then using each platform appropriately. So if you're using, and he was comparing search network ads with Facebook ads with LinkedIn, and making sure those ads are targeted, personalized, and then using thought leading with content, which is lesser extent, not so much for sport. But he was trying to push people from being reactive of monitoring things and fixing problems to being in front of that curve, pushing out the ads, telling people to go to a certain place, choose where you want to have that conversation. He sort of went through a bit of the how the different networks compare. But I did like his perpetual promotion machine, having the website as the hub. You've got your social sites, you've got your posts and your ads, they're driving people into your website. You've got search engines and potentially you might be doing some search ads, that kind of thing, they're driving people in your website. And then the last one is the red, which is the remarketing. It's like, well, people are going to your website, why wouldn't you want to continue to remarket to them? And so all of these 3 circles should all be funneling fans back into your website, through a variety of different means. So there's some of the recaps of social media marketing world. Let me know if you want a little bit more info. I've got some more. I recorded the sessions I went to, and I've also got some of the slides that I can share with you and follow up stuff. Then my last day, I jet from San Diego after Social Media Marketing World, went to LA for the last day, and caught up with Lisa Brigman, who visited me when she was in Melbourne only a couple of months ago, to get a bit of a tour of the Home Depot Centre. So LA Galaxy, if you didn't know, they're in the Major League Soccer, one of the more successful clubs. They've just come off the Beckham era. So Beckham finished up last year, winning the MLS Cup. And there's me with the 2 MLS Cups that they did win. Was lucky enough to have a look at the fan hub that they're currently building, pretty much out of a promotion with Chevy. Chevy want to connect with all their fans, so they're effectively building a fan hub / mini site that's sort of trying to integrate all of their social components and drive traffic to their match day and game activations and those kind of things. So I'll let you know when that's launched. I think it's about 4 or 6 weeks away. They're definitely a small team. There was only Lisa and the other Lisa, she was more of a developer side, the sports geek in the team, I guess. So pretty much a small team. They do have LA Galaxy are part of AEG, so they do have the support of the AEG guys. But they're definitely a small team, in a relatively big market, looking behind, looking up to the Lakers, Clippers, Kings, college football, that kind of thing. We did have a good discussion on potentially sports trends map, and I'm in the process of I've got a pitch deck I've got to send to you guys and get your feedback on. But you all know trends map. You would have seen your accounts trending. What we're working with, because with John Barrett, who's who's the founder of Trends Map, who's based in Melbourne. We're working with him to come up with a bit of a sports pivot of Trends Map, and see if there's a way we can provide some really cool content and effectively like Twitter replays, that kind of thing. For say when Robbie Keane kicks a goal, we'll be able to show the 5 minutes what Twitter looked like after that happened. So obviously the word Robbie Keane would be exploding and the galaxy would be trending in different parts of LA. So potentially working to get Sports Trends Map into there as one of the things. And that's pretty much it. That pretty much wraps it up. I'm happy to take any questions at this stage.